Welcome to Coach Grid. My name is Joe Spearden, here with Kirsten Davis. Today we want to talk about why some amazing coaches don't make money and why some really bad coaches do make money. I would imagine you might be in that first category, an amazing coach that isn't making the amount of money that you want to be making at this point in time. So, Kirsten, excited to talk with you today. Again, having worked with and for so many amazing coaches and having worked with and for so many bad coaches, we've been able to see kind of behind the curtain and see which ones are making money.
Yeah.
And I remember at first when I realized that being a really great coach or being not necessarily a great coach isn't really the determining factor as to whether or not you're going to make a lot of money as a coach.
Yeah.
Was really kind of a bummer because I considered myself a really amazing coach. And at that point in time that I realized it, I wasn't making the money that I wanted to make yet as a coach either.
Right.
So one of the first things that we want to talk about is this idea of the curse of knowledge. And that's the term that I found for it. Really, it's the cognitive dissonance that we have sometimes between what it is that we've forgotten that we know and what other people, generally speaking, don't know.
Yeah.
And this happens in every industry. If you're in an industry and you've ever used an acronym, CDL, that might mean something in your industry that nobody else knows what that means or what it is or the complexities behind it, but you do, and you forget that you know it. But in coaching specifically, this happens with a lot of amazing coaches where they forget the things that they know and how they learned them and why they know them. And so then it's very difficult for them to convey it to their clients at times.
Yeah. I always tell people, it's so funny. I was in the industry for about 2 years before I learned what integration was. And people kept saying, make sure you integrate. And I was like, all right, I don't know. And I would just go home and be like, am I integrating? Is it integrated? I was thinking I just need to let it land. And then that's not what it means. But that's a word that everyone in the industry just seems to know. And maybe more people were like me and don't. But these words that, you just come to use as a part of your daily language. And then when you're marketing or talking about what you do, I think that's where people get tripped up a lot with making money because they're using these words that only the people who are selling the same thing they're selling know what they mean.
Right. I completely agree. And obviously we've talked about this so many times and we kind of tease about this with certain clients, especially in different communities where there really are kind of cliche terms at this point in time. And they use that cliche term as part of their title. And then when you put that title in front of a lot of people, like, I might need that. I don't know, because I'm not really sure what that is or what that looks like. What is it that you've seen people do to be able to start to get back to that simplicity? Like if I'm that person, if I have so much expertise in an area that I've kind of forgotten so much and just forgotten what I know, how do I start to get back to that, do you think?
I think one thing is just go out into the world and listen, go to the grocery store and listen to people talk on the phone to their spouse, or go if you're at an office job still and just listen. What do people complain about? How do they say it? What are they struggling with? And what are the words they use? Because when I worked in finance, there was nobody saying, man, I'm just not very intuitively aligned today. I really need to find some sense of self. And then that's really going to help the company succeed. It's no, they're like, why didn't this happen today? Why did you miss this deadline again? Why isn't development moving? Why,
Yeah. Intuitive alignment did not come up in that conversation.
No, and they needed some intuitive alignment for sure, but they didn't know what that meant.
Right.
So
I think oftentimes we get stuck in our bubble.
Yeah.
Because of the podcast that we start listening to, because of the people that we surround ourselves with, because of the fields that we're working in, we acclimate to a lot of that stuff. And when you can get outside of that bubble, when you can go out and talk with people and start listening to them and get really curious about them.
Yeah.
For myself, as I was working with men, one of the terms a lot of people would use in kind of the spiritual community was like divine masculinity. 99.9% of men are never going to use that term when referencing themselves or anybody else. But what they're going to talk about is saying, man, I am so tired, or I'm so overwhelmed, or I'm so stressed. So then in your marketing, you talk about those things, and then you start to educate them on maybe some deeper concepts or philosophies that's going to help them experience more of what they want to experience, while also having some more awareness in a lot of the terminology that surrounds it as well.
Yeah. And I really think that it's best to go somewhere and listen to people that don't know that you're listening. Because when you ask somebody, like, what are you looking for? What would you hire me? They're also starting to go into that way of thinking. And I think really solid marketing gets into the things they don't even realize they're thinking until they see it on your Instagram page.
Yeah. This is what really good TV shows do as well. A good TV show speaks to a general populace, because a TV show, generally speaking, wants to appeal to as many people as possible. So a lot of times the words that they use, the way that they speak, are the things that you're going to hear more often in the world around you. And you'll notice in those spaces, they don't niche. They don't go into really specific topics or terminology with the things that they're telling a story about, especially like the sitcom type television, right? So the more you can simplify, the more I think there's value in doing that. And that we use the term a bad coach, but oftentimes it's not necessarily a bad coach. It might just be an inexperienced coach.
Yeah.
But the value of an inexperienced coach, and we're talking to people about their coaching and building their coaching business, they'll run up against the imposter syndrome thing. I think, well, how can I coach somebody on this? I was struggling with it last week. So that's perfect. It's fresh in your mind. You know exactly what it is to be struggling with that. You remember the pain. You remember the struggle. You remember the feelings and sensations that were coming with that. So now you can really, really well talk to them about those things and help them through it. And I know a lot of times you'll talk with our clients about this as well, because this comes up with almost every single one of them when we're trying to find their niche. Yeah.
I think when that imposter syndrome comes up and you're feeling like you're not good enough and maybe you're not cut out for this and maybe you should do something else, maybe you should just stay in your job or whatever it is, I think the tendency of a lot of people, if they decide to stay in it, is like, okay, well, I'm going to go get this certification, or I'm going back to school, or I'm going to do this thing that is awesome. Like that's going to improve your coaching, but it's not going to help you get clients. And I think that's where people really, that's the number one place they go wrong. Your ability to charge, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think your ability to charge is solely based on how good your marketing is, because people don't even know how good your program is until they're inside it. And at that point, they've already paid. So unless you have a really generous refund policy, which most people have a no refund policy, it doesn't matter how good your program is except for word of mouth.
Yeah. One of the other mistakes that I was making when I was first getting into coaching was assuming that good coaches make money and bad coaches don't.
Yeah.
And I was sorely disappointed when I learned that that was not the case. Part of that solid marketing also is your confidence. And there are plenty of coaches that are inexperienced or straight up bad that are still incredibly confident in themselves, in the program, and the thing that is that they do. And that instills a lot of confidence in your potential clientele. So I know in marketing, confidence is a really important aspect of that.
Yeah.
So you might be confident that you're an amazing coach, but is that confidence coming through in the way that you speak to people and the things that you speak about?
Yeah. Coaching is interesting because you've kind of got two pieces. Like most people get into coaching because they want to make an impact and they really want to shift things. And it's also a business. And so I think a lot of coaches tend to lean towards the impact and they're like, well, I need money. So that keeps pulling them into needing the other side of it.
When it comes to coaching, and being able to be profitable at the same time. The confidence side of that isn't about you should be willing to pay me this much money. It's what is this going to do for you? And that's when we're helping a client who's a coach price out their offer and price out what it is that they do. Mm-hmm. They'll immediately start going into dollars per hour.
Yeah.
And that is not a sign of a good coach or a bad coach, but it is a sign of whether or not you're going to make a lot of money. Because most coaches that are profitable aren't concerned about the dollars per hour.
Right.
Most coaches are saying, what is the effect that this is going to have in your life? And if I can deliver that in an hour, who cares?
Right.
It's still going to change your life. That's worth X amount of dollars. But that's kind of the market that we exist in right now. Is oftentimes before marketing, someone has an assumption that the more I pay, the more access to this person I'm getting. The more I pay, the more hours we're going to be together. When the reality is, the more they pay, the more invested they are in what it is that they're doing, and the more likely the result is going to be delivered on. So it has very little to do with your hours to fulfillment.
Yeah. It's really about being able to paint the picture of the transformation and to get them very emotionally invested. And then once they're invested, really great coaches use that momentum to make an impact. But I think some of the most wealthy coaches actually end up that way because they're focusing all their effort on the money-making side, which doesn't require the impact side.
Right. So we want coaches to be amazing, and we want them to make a lot of money. Don't want this to come across as say, it doesn't matter if you're an amazing coach or not, because one of the really important aspects of what we work with is sustainability. And if you're a bad coach, but you're really confident and you have really good marketing, that's going to last for a while. But eventually through word of mouth, through Google reviews, for whatever it is, that's going to fall flat. So we want sustainability and profitability. So for those amazing coaches, I think the things that we want to focus on today is, one, yes, be an amazing coach. And then two, as an amazing coach, find some really solid marketing. Find somebody that can help you let your confidence come through, let the clarity in the messaging come through, and let the pricing and things that like that come through. So if I was an amazing coach and I was aware of the fact that I needed that stuff for the profitability side, what is it that we do to help coaches in that? How do we help amazing coaches be profitable?
I think we help them get really clear on who they are and what the value they're actually bringing is, and then translating that to what the market wants and finding where those two things meet.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people either say, well, this is what the market wants, so I have to be this, even though I hate that. Or they're like, well, this is what I want to do, even though nobody actually wants it, so I'm going to do it. But there's always a sweet spot where you have both, and you need both if you want it to be a business and not just a hobby.
100%. So if you're an amazing coach and you want to be a sustainably profitable coach at the same time, reach out to us, coachgrid.com, or go find us on Instagram at coachgrid.